tweet. Instead of spending any money on making a noise, we've literally... I reckon when we get like really into the DMs and the deep and meaningfuls, I kind of just like, that's the kind of sound effects.
Hey guys, welcome. This is the Tweaked Show, and it's Owen and Garrick here, and we're with the lovely Paulina. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And so a little bit about Paulina is she's got her own activewear brand.
Yes.
And she is over in New Zealand from Poland originally, and you're also plant-based.
I am.
That's how we actually met.
Yes, on Instagram. Yeah. Amazing that you're plant-based too.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Are you plant-based, Owen?
I'm, yeah. I could be flexitarian, conscious of where my meat source comes from. But we can...
I respect that.
I definitely since becoming close friends with Garrick in the last 12 months, I've definitely branched out from growing up in a traditional meat and tree veg environment. I do love meat, but I'm more conscious of the fact of where the meat comes from.
Nice.
And I don't really believe in... I think the current farming situation, how it's mass produced, and especially with chickens and that, is definitely a concern. However, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that I do not enjoy eating meat.
Yeah.
I didn't stop eating meat because I didn't enjoy it. I actually love meat.
Yeah.
I was paleo before, like 7 years. Paleo.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, so I was basically just eating meat. I didn't like vegetables. And then my ex-partner and I, Dan, who I own the business with, we went down the rabbit hole through LEAT, basically researching plastic pollution and then climate change and then animal cruelty and just the whole, just how the world is set up. And we were just so disgusted. And we're like, we can't be environmentalists and eat meat.
Yeah.
Like, we're just being hypocrites. So on the 1st of January 2020, we decided to go plant-based, just cold turkey. And I'm like, how are we going to do this? Because I hate vegetables. I love meat.
Yeah.
And I actually made us watch Earthlings, which is a documentary about animal cruelty. I could not sit there. I was like dry reaching. I had to go on the balcony, just even the sound of the animals screaming. And I'm like, and so that was kind of like, cherry on top kind of thing. Like this, okay, you need a big enough why to stop doing anything, any addiction, any lifestyle change. I'm like, okay, climate change, health, and animals now. So, and then we never looked back. It was amazing. Cheese was the hardest. And now I think the dairy industry is worse. Like, I just think it's disgusting what they do with stealing their babies as soon as they're born. And it's horrible, horrible. But yeah, and it's been 3 years now and we're thriving and feel amazing and just giving back to the planet and animals as much as we can. I'm not perfect. He's not perfect. We go out sometimes like, there'll be some feta cheese on, like when I was especially in Poland, there's so much dairy, so much meat, and that was really tricky. But in New Zealand, there's not an excuse.
It's hard to navigate it, and also the way I got into it was just realizing it was like, we were doing my food bag, and I think it's great for anyone who's thinking about doing that transition, because I think it's a hard transition. You've been educated meat and three veg, that's like a balanced plate, and to actually transition from that is like a food box or something like that where you get nutritionists, you get all the food delivered to you, and you just need to whip up the recipe. It's a great way of getting a balanced meal and slowly getting into it. That's the way we did it, my ex and I. And eventually, after watching Game Changers was the one for me, where I was like, I don't have to be like someone who is like a little bit of a hippie and doesn't do any exercise to be able to do this diet. Like, I always thought growing up in South Africa especially, it was like, you've got to have meat. Like, that's why animals get killed in this, because you have to have meat. If we don't have that, we're going to die. So that was like my kind of transition. And then eventually, after watching Game Changers, realizing that I didn't have to eat meat to survive, I was like, Garrick, don't be a hypocrite. Anyone else can do whatever they want. But Garrick, don't be a hypocrite, because your whole life, you have gone to the supermarket, picked up the nice steak in the package, which is all perfect, and then gone home, cooked it, and you love it. And I was like, now that you don't need that. So just don't be a hypocrite.
Yeah.
So I don't eat meat now. I do eat cheese every now and then, and I do have seafood every now and then.
Yeah,
But-
seafood's my go-to if I'm out and
Yeah.
there's nothing.
And it's more like for me, I was like, Garrick, you wouldn't enjoy going and killing a pig, killing a cow. Like I wouldn't be able to I wouldn't enjoy it because I have too many like emotions for the animal. Whereas like going fishing and stuff, I'm like, oh, I've done it before, and it's a little bit different for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
and they're
my
out in the ocean.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. Yeah.
So I did vegan for like 1 year solid, and I loved it. Like so many, the biggest change for me is like losing a whole bunch of puppy fat, like around your face and everything.
Yeah.
And then
I know exactly where it is. Puppy fat, you call it. At 35 years of age. Ooh. She's hard to lose.
But yeah, ultimately, like love the change now, and going back to South Africa, to go back to your point, was really challenging. So many people were like, whoa, what are we going to cook you? Even my family, they're like, what are you going to? I was like, you guys, whoa, this is like, it's actually
It's
not
an
that
educational thing though
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
Because
That's
my
what it
ex
is.
was vegetarian for a long time, and I remember when she came back and met my family, every day my mum used to be like, "Do you want some pork?" And it was like, no. And I think I think they believe it's like it's going to change daily. You know what I mean? As if like one day she's going to go, I'll have some of those sausages. And it's like, what are you going to do for someone? But I think I know people who've worked in who had to go to a meatworks, and they said to me, "You go to a meatworks, you will not eat meat ever again."
Yeah.
But I think here it's educational. The younger people need to realise, like, how many people go and look at a menu and choose a dish based on a meat protein? They haven't even looked at anything else. They're just like, I want chicken.
But I think this also comes down to marketing. And
It is.
You know how you would like a little bit like, whoa, your ex and I and you were like, whoa, this is a little bit hectic, because it's all sold to you in a way which is like, oh no, this doesn't happen. It's like,
Yeah, I know.
it's like, whoa,
Well,
why don't you be honest?
Yeah.
Why don't you be honest about what happens if it's not that bad and all this stuff?
Oh, and
and that's my problem with it now. Is
Yeah.
I'm like,
You should be
You
brought
guys are a
to
little
where
bit
you get
shady.
your meat from. You know what I mean? You should go and look at the 100,000 chickens that have 6 days to live so that you can have your whatever. And it's like, because that'll quickly make a decision.
yeah.
Probably not going to eat meat this weekend. Just to balance the books. Tell me more about the business Leet. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, Leet. We started it in 2020 as well, and it was 2 years in the making. Basically, I think we've launched 3 years now, so 5 years in total, the journey, and it's bamboo activewear. And we just wanted to stay away from plastic, polyester. Saw the pollution problem, and Dan was really passionate. He's a boxer, professional boxer.
Seen him in the videos. He's a big guy.
And he's so much better now being plant-based. He's PT who's had forever. He's like, you're so much faster.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah, which
that's
is amazing.
cool.
He's been boxing since he was 13 years old.
Wow.
So yeah, he's definitely an inspiration, especially being such a big dude, alpha male, and just like people are like, wow, you don't eat meat? Like 3 years hasn't eaten meat.
Wow.
It's so amazing, yeah. So I really look up to him, and so we were together. Obviously, I moved here for him to New Zealand from Melbourne. So I was born in Poland, but moved to New Zealand 5 years ago for Dan, and we broke up kind of as we launched Leet, which was really tricky, really sad. But we're best friends now.
Oh, that's
which
nice.
is so, like, he's my family.
Yeah.
Like, I have no family here, and he's my go-to. I'm his go-to. We're just so close. It's so beautiful. I'm so grateful to have him in my life.
Yeah.
On that topic, I love that. I love how what you said there. You've fallen in love with someone. Okay, you've had this relationship with someone, and you've still got emotional maturity, the both of you, to be like, oh, hey, this isn't working between us, but we can still be friends.
Yes.
Honestly, I think this is so hard to come across, especially this day and age, where it's like, put your differences aside. It's, sometimes I think this whole narrative of like, it's got to be forever. And if it's not forever, then you hate each other and all this kind of stuff. It's like, it's so refreshing to hear that. And Owen's in a similar situation with his ex. It's so amicable between them, and it's so refreshing to hear. I think everyone loves that.
Yeah. I love that. So you're friends with your ex too?
Yeah, we spoke yesterday on the phone because she's been to a trip in Japan. We're catching up, and it was actually interesting because I I even said to her, I actually felt we've been separated. We were together for 9 years.
Wow.
Separate, coming up to 2 years this October. But I've got a few friends who are going through breakups, and they're just getting nasty, and they're getting a little bit petty, and it's just kind of like, whoa. And it just made me appreciate. So I even said to her on the phone yesterday, I was like, you know what, we were so lucky to have an amicable breakup where I didn't agree with the reasons why she wanted to separate. I kind of do now, but at the time I didn't. But it was still like such an easier transition to go through that and still know that you've got one person. Like I know similar to you, I don't have any family here either. So you know if you ever need to make one call and you've got someone who knows you inside out,
Yes.
it's good to have
friend,
that.
Your best friend.
I would try him. I would try him, but there's a good chance he won't answer. And then he'll ring me back like 6 seconds later. And I'm like, what were you not doing?
I was dying. Where were you?
Do you miss Melbourne?
Not at all.
Really?
No.
Oh,
No, I've been through 2 breakups, and my mum every time she's like, "Are you coming home now?" I'm like, "No, this is home." I've never felt more content in my life.
in New Zealand?
Yeah, there's something so special about New Zealand. At least for me, I just feel so at peace here. So
You left, how old were you when you left Poland?
I was 3.5.
Okay, and did your family make a switch to Aussie?
Yeah, my parents and my mum was 8 months pregnant, and no English, no family. It was pretty tough for them, for sure. There was no internet back then, so I definitely admire what they did, and I'm so grateful because they did it fast for me and my sister. And then we moved back when I was 7 for almost a year. I went to Polish school, so I can still speak Polish, still read and write, with mistakes. But yeah, very grateful that they moved to Australia because definitely a better life.
Yeah.
But also in saying that, not having a family around, the grandparents, that was definitely tough as well, especially for my sister, because at least the first 4 years of my life I had that love, whereas my sister didn't have that. So I would be jealous. Like my friends would be like, "Oh, I'm going to my grandma's house this weekend," and I'm like, "Oh, damn, that'd be nice."
Yeah.
So that was definitely hard, especially Poland, so far away.
Yeah.
If I ever had a kid, I'd love my parents to move here because I wouldn't want that to happen to my kid.
So your parents are back in Poland?
No, they're in Melbourne.
Oh, they're in Melbourne. And your sister?
She's in Melbourne.
Yeah. At least it's not too far away.
No, yeah, exactly. It's just over the ditch.
Yeah, I think as you get older, though, you do miss that part of having family. You take it for granted a little bit.
Yeah.
For sure, the struggle I've got at the moment is my kids.
Jesus, how many kids have I? Jesus.
Can you just edit that immediately? My siblings' kids, there's 4 of them, like under 6. And I get sent pictures, and we do I've struggled with video calls because of the time difference. But I got sent pictures of them. They're leaving school now, and I'm just like, shit. Where has that time went?
Yeah.
But then I'm massively selfish, and I just do love my life here. So it's kind of like, I'm not going to live over there just to keep my family happy.
Yeah, the side I've got to that as well is like after splitting up with my ex, and we're both over here by ourselves as well. There's definitely like this sense for me where it's like, my family said, "You can always come back, Eric," and it's like, and there was a part of me which is like, I could go back, but then you're in that like comfort. Whereas when you're over here by yourself, there is this sense of adventure. It's like you don't have anyone to fall back on the weekend and say, "Oh, hey, I'm just going to go and have a roast with the family," which is nice. But I think when it's every weekend, it's just comfortable, and it keeps you comfortable and not pushing and growing, if that makes sense. You're not out of your comfort zone to actually grow. So there's definitely that side of being in New Zealand, which I'm really enjoying, like being by yourself, and it's just motivating me just to go and do new things and go and meet new people because you have to.
Yeah, that's true. I've now, since being here, I've formed an amazing group of friends that are just like my family. I just see them and we have the same values, so it's just really nice. And when I go back to Melbourne, or even I was in Poland recently, just a month ago, I get so homesick. Like even in Melbourne, where my best friends are like from my childhood, like I really want to go home.
I think that's the most important feeling is, when you fly back to New Zealand, it's that kind of like comfort feeling of you're coming back. I think that's always the ones when you know that you kind of made the right decision.
You found your home, your place.
Yeah, I had that going over to the UK. So I came to New Zealand first, did rugby and stuff here, then went to the UK for 2 years and was doing rugby there. And it was the first time I felt homesick in my life.
Wow.
and it wasn't for South Africa, it was for New Zealand.
Ah.
And I just that's when I was like, oh, I've got to go back, because that feeling of actually like, man, I just miss the stuff in New Zealand. I miss the people. I miss how small it is and comfortable. And that's what it is. It's comfortable, you know.
Yeah.
You're not looking over your shoulder and stuff like you are in other places in the world, you know?
Because I was gonna say, so we all feel it. We're all from different parts of the world. What is it about New Zealand that's so special?
Unsure. I was going to say safety, but that's probably not great.
After
No.
I don't.
I feel like everywhere is getting pretty bad.
Yeah.
Melbourne's not that great either. It used to be so safe. So.
Yeah. And in terms of the safety part, I'd still consider New Zealand very safe compared to other parts of the world, especially even back home. It's kind of like, whoa. Don't know what it is that brings you to New Zealand. I think I enjoy also the fact of actually being foreign in another country's got a bit of a bonus point as well, because you are, by default, you're a little bit unique.
Yeah.
But I'm a bit similar. I've got I think it's the close friends I've got a few of them as more recent from like running clubs. So I think, I don't know about you, but as you get older, it's a little bit more difficult to meet people.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, so we've been quite lucky in our social scene with running groups that there's been a few more there, but probably my core friends are all people I've known since I've been here like 12 years ago, you know, from early days, from even when I lived in Wellington, I've kept in touch with.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit, as I said, as you get older, it's a little bit trickier. Garrick's the exclusion. He's just snuck into the criteria. Can't get rid of him.
My best friend, Gigi, I met her through Bumble. Bumble for Friends.
Really?
I reckon
You
your
know
one's
that's
even
a
getting
thing?
swipes on
Really?
friends. Your one's even getting more. She's getting more friend swipes than I'm getting swipes.
Yeah, so
I might give the friends a bit of a go.
because we were living in Whangaparoa when I first moved here. I'm like, man, it's so hard to everyone's retired over there. Beautiful spot, but like
far.
an hour from Auckland. I'm like, I don't know how to make friends. I was really like struggling, you know, and started going to the gym. It was just really hard. It was really hard, you know, and someone's like, oh, just have a baby. I'm like, that's not a reason to have a baby. You know, that's how you make friends with mothers. And I'm like, no, let's not go that far. I'll get a cat first. But and then I found out that you can find friends on Bumble, and I had 3 Bumble dates with friends, and made friends with, you know, all of them, hung out with them, but Gigi's the one that stuck, and she's just the most beautiful girl I've met. Woman.
That's awesome.
I've met. So
that's awesome. I've met lots of girls on Bumble, and it hasn't.
Friends?
Did you say lots?
Dating. No, it's dating.
Say lots.
But I'll say dating. And this is what I mean. Like, is actually having that maturity to be like, hey, if nothing's there, we can still be friends.
I love that.
You don't have to be like, oh, this is weird. Okay. Oh, we see each other because Auckland's really small. Oh, okay. Can't make eye contact. It's like, oh, hey, we tried something. There was nothing there. That's okay.
Yes.
We can still be friends.
I love that.
We still had something in common where we could have a conversation. You know what I mean? Like, so I've made like a few, actually, I would say friends. I wouldn't say really good friends, but friends, you know? And it's networking. At the end of the day, it's networking, you know?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Have you been dating since then?
I had, yes, I had one boyfriend, Richard, for a year. We're still friends as well.
Nice.
I'm friends with all my exes, to be honest, except for one. You know, there's always one.
One dickhead.
Yeah, but he always came and went, you know, my life as well. But I've just drawn the line there recently. But yeah, and since Richard, not so much. Like, it's kind of tough. I'm getting to the age where, like, I'm running out of time. Do I want to have a kid? Or asking those really tough questions.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, that, it does come to mind because of the age part, where there's obviously a lot more pressure on women than there is.
For sure. And I never wanted to have a kid until I think I turned 31, and my grandma passed away. And then I got my cats, and like how much I love my cats. I was like, wow, I can only imagine having your own baby and how that would feel. Because I just love my cats like they're my children.
Yeah.
And then it's just tough because being plant-based, dated a few guys that, you know, ate meat, and it's tough. I don't know. Like I thought, I'm like, I got this. And then I'm like, I don't have this. This is not, you know, anything else, but it's a real struggle. And I think, like, I've tried to, because I'm like, it's pretty hard to find a guy who's plant-based. buying me.
Sorry, dude, this isn't the place or time, dude. Pull your head in. I'm very sorry, Paulina. Unprofessionalism. Oh my days. Can you move
I
an inch?
do agree with you
Do
though.
you struggle with that?
I find it
do?
like honestly, to
You
find
don't
a
give
girl.
a shit if they eat meat or if they
No,
eat their toenails.
I
Would you
do.
behave
Seriously,
yourself?
it gets to the point. Honestly, okay, we're on the apps. Okay, we're talking about apps now, and you see a girl who's like beautiful, and you're like 10 out of 10, cool, and then she's like, oh, favorite thing to eat is like KFC or something, and I'm like,
yeah.
oh well, next. You know, I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's a bit of like a you're not looking after yourself, like.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, it is
like
a
you know
health
it's
thing.
like that's a little bit yuck for me now.
Yeah, I think because we started off like doing it for environmental reasons and then health. I think back then I was okay with it. There was a point where I said to Dan for his birthday, because we're like, oh, we'll go plant-based, but if we eat meat from time to time, because we weren't doing it for the animals originally. Now I'm all about the animals
Yeah.
because of my cats. Because I'm like, wow, like this is a living, breathing, feeling personality. Both my cats have completely different personalities. Socks is such a mummy's boy.
Is Soxy
Socks is the one that I have, and
Yeah.
the other one is with Richard's dad because he adopted him.
Oh,
so I couldn't
okay.
have both of them. They just fought too much, two boys.
Yeah.
And I just like now I'm doing it for the animals. But I remember it was Dan's birthday, and I'm like, do you want to go get like a steak? We hadn't had like any meat for 6 months or something. And he's like, no. He's like, I can't believe you just asked me that. He's like, I don't want to eat a cow. I'm like, wow. I'm like, I love you. You're so amazing. Like that you just changed your mindset, because for him, he said originally, he's like, I'd never not eat meat. That was his words.
Yeah.
Famous last words.
Same here.
I think if you go that far into it and you're that dedicated, then fair enough. It'd be like someone who's like not that extreme because it's more addiction. Is like an alcoholic of going, well, on your birthday have a beer. Yeah. And it's like, well, why toy with that when you're
like
that far invested and you're like, I don't.
See, so I had a drinking problem for a long time, and that was a thing that I was like, I don't think I can. Again, I keep going back to Dan. Sorry, Dan. Using him as my amazing example, but he's such an inspiring guy, because he and I were drinking when we met each other, and I was going through a tough time. But I had already quit drinking for a year prior to that, so I knew that alcohol wasn't going to be a part of my life. And I said to him, like, I'm not going to be drinking wine every night with dinner. Like, that's just not my future, because I have a drinking problem. So I will never tell you what to do, but if you are going to continue doing this, I have to walk away. This is before I moved to New Zealand. And then he came back to me a couple of days later, and he's like, wow, all of us have a drinking problem. Yeah. Like, all this society has a drinking problem. Like,
what was your drinking problem? Like, let's just deep dive on that a little bit. Like, what is your drink? Like, what is a drinking problem?
I didn't have a stop button. So let's start there.
Okay.
It was I was out of control. I also would go into I started doing cocaine at one point, and it would be like I'd vomit and keep drinking. I'd take a line of cocaine and keep drinking. I didn't want the party to ever end. I'm surprised I'm still standing here. Like, I'm tiny, and the amount of alcohol I have drank, I could put any guy under the table. Like, I was
Polish background.
Polish, like vodka in your blood. I swear, when you're born, you know. And then I would drink when I was happy, when I was sad, when I had no reason to. I drink by myself. Like, it was just, I was a full blown.
And was it like weekends or just
no, every day.
Every day.
Yeah. And were you working? Were you like a functioning alcoholic?
I was working in hospitality, so you ask
like,
drinks, and then
it's part of it.
And then you sleep all day, and then work at night.
So you went cold turkey, did you?
No. My ex-girlfriend saved my life. I really, really believe that. She said to me at one point, I dated her for 5 years, and also when I was drinking, I was very vicious. Like, all my anger would come out, all this pain, and I would take it out on the people that loved me, that were the closest to me. So whether it was my family, but mostly my partners copped it the most. Yeah. And she said to me at one point, she's like, it's either me or the partying. Because I just wouldn't come home. I ended up drinking, taking drugs, and Then she didn't know where I was. She'd wake up and I'm not there.
Yeah.
And basically she was like, yeah, it's either me or the party. And I loved her so much. She was everything to me. And she was the only one that actually said that to me. All my other exes like hated me drinking, and
They would put up with it because they're like, oh,
Yeah,
oh, it's what you
yeah,
like doing. I'll just
yeah,
I'll tiptoe around the subject.
yeah.
It's kind of
but-
normal. It's
yeah.
cultural.
Also, like I was quite like I was a bit of a rebel in my 20s. I was like, if you're not happy, there's the door. See ya. Like I didn't like relationships.
Cutthroat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like relationships. I hated relationships. I just like I kind of would like break up with my partner, get back with them. You know, it was very like I was very toxic. Anyway, so because I didn't want to lose her, I realized at that point, I think it was about 25 or something like that, 26. I realized I definitely have a drinking problem. I was hurting everyone around me, and I'm also going to kill myself. I will die this way. Like, yeah. So I went and got help through the DeMartini course, which is kind of like NLP, but not. It's kind of hard to explain. And they do this breakthrough experience. And I did a seminar ages ago, and I like loved this seminar. And I met this guy, and I just really connected with him. So I contacted him. He was in Christchurch, and I was in Melbourne at the time. And we did one-on-ones, and yeah, lots of like anxiety. I was also like struggled with anxiety since I was 10 years old. I woke up one day, ran to my parents' room, and I just said to my parents, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die one day. And ever since then, I started getting panic attacks.
Yeah.
Really?
Which is really weird. And like I spoke to my psychologist about it. I've spoken to many psychologists, and so many people like, you know, will just, it's a guessing game. Like I did almost drown when I was a kid. That could be a generational trauma from Poland, genetics, who knows?
Yeah.
You know, you'll never find out exactly pinpoint where it came from. So alcohol was, you know, I was self-medicating for sure. It really eased, like when I was high, I just felt free. I wasn't overthinking. And even when I was like high on drugs and I was so happy, like on ecstasy, I'm like, oh, I don't care if I die tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know? And it was that freedom. And then the next day, oh my
God. I
God.
was going to say, if you're struggling with anxiety, that's the anxiety.
So then I just keep drinking. So it's a non-stop vicious cycle because I was like, I need to keep drinking to make myself feel better. So, and then this Cherie really just, he went through this process, and I had to do the pros and cons and like what I perceived alcohol gave to me. And it was like this big list, like even to the point that I couldn't have sex without drinking because I would overthink. I wasn't comfortable with myself. Yeah, just so many things. Like I felt like I was more confident. I was funnier, like all these, you know. I'd even go to a photo shoot and take a shot before just to calm me down, you know. And now I'm like, I've learnt my triggers. Like, you know, you guys ask me, do I want a coffee? And I'm like, I can't have a coffee before this interview because I could have anxiety. You know, I'm on antidepressants now. So I've been on them for 3 years now. I've halved my dose because I'm trying to get off them, but changed my life. Completely changed my life. Yeah. And I am going to get off them and see if I've rewired my brain. I also started doing ice baths, which was a game changer. And and if I go back to the way I used to be, because my anxiety like turned into claustrophobia as well. So I'm scared of flying on planes. Usually I can't do flying on planes.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the solution to that next.
Yeah. Okay. And then getting in lifts, like just irrational things. I get scared that I'm going to get suffocated in a lift. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I laugh at myself, but at the time it's not funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if I go backwards and I feel like I'm constantly thinking about dying and anxiety, and I'll go back on antidepressants and stay on them for the rest of my life. And I don't care because I used to be really against them, but now I'm just like,
yeah. Well, there is definitely a mental cloud of people being against them because it's a fear of accepting that you've got a problem. And
yeah, but also the drug thing.
Well,
People
that's what I've heard. Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard like, oh, there's like pharmaceutical companies, all of that thing. You know, they get you on something and then it's so hard to get off it. You know.
Yeah.
But do you have any side effects of being on them?
No. I've been really lucky.
What about this could be very personal, we can crop it out. It affects your sex life as well, your libido, doesn't it?
No, definitely not.
Oh, must be just my one.
Let me tell you. No, at the very beginning, I really struggled to have orgasms. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
But so I was frustrated and I went to my doctor. I'm like, I can't have orgasms. She's like, pick which one you want. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
No, and I was really upset at that point. And then I spoke to a few people who've been on, I was on 50 milligrams and I have friends that have been on 200, like way more than me.
Yeah.
So I was on a very low dose.
Yeah.
And my friend said, you'll get used to it and you get back to the way you were. And she was right.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very right.
Well,
That's interesting because it's also like, I feel like also even someone who's not on antidepressants and stuff like that, if my head's in work or stressed out about something, it's the same thing happens to me, like I can't do stuff because I'm like not there. I'm thinking about all these other stresses in my life. So when life's good, then everything's good, you know?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really
Exactly.
interesting. That's really interesting.
the flying one, my fear is, and it's not more fears, it's the control aspect mostly with turbulence. And I've had panic attacks on planes more domestically, because international you can take some medication. I can't take medication flying to Wellington on a 40-minute flight and I'm out for 8 hours. But I've had some bad experiences, and I went to the a woman recommended going to the airport for this flying seminar that you can do, and it's not just turbulent, it's 5 evenings in a row all about flying. And it's well worth it. You just learn so much about flying.
Yeah.
And in comparison to like in a boat, you got waves, water, air is the same thing.
Yeah.
And just how well planes are built.
Yeah.
That's the other part. I had the opposite experience to you though, in terms of I had leukemia as a kid. So I built this kind of mental state around, so I was 12, 13 at the time. But because I survived it, I almost had this mental part of like, I'm in added time here. I'm in bonus time. So the fear of dying or concept of dying has never bothered me, because I've always been like, well, actually, you know what? Things could have been a lot worse as a kid. So I'm kind of in this. So I think I've used that for so long, but I think it's kind of caught up with me now. You know the way you just use it and you're always like, oh, I had that when I was a kid. Like, so whatever my life's happening is gone beyond that. And I always think
I like this. I want to talk more about this because you say that. And I love the whole story. Like Owen was so lucky. Your brother was a donor.
yeah, all my siblings, 3 siblings came
Which
back
is
with
so
matches.
unheard of. Which is unheard of, eh? It's
Yeah,
real, like
my
low
younger brother
chance.
donated it to me. I had a touch wood, like not easy, but like everything that could have went to plan went to plan.
Wow.
But the reason I want to talk a little bit more about that is because also, like you did 5 weeks of no drinking. Okay. So like Owen's also been running so much recently. And I'm kind of like that guy, like, Owen, why are you drinking? Like, you don't need it. This guy at a party, honestly, like, I say to him all the time, I'm like, Owen, you've got everyone eating out of your hand because you're Irish. That's about it. No, but
You're
you're
loud,
Irish.
so they have to listen to you. You're 6'2", so they have to see you. Just showing the flexes here, Paul.
I'm like, dude, you don't need alcohol. Like I said at the beginning of that party, everyone loved you. You were funny. You were charismatic. But then later on in the night, then you drank too much, and then people are like, oh, he's messy drunk now, and they don't really want to be around you. And I was like, and I've spoken to Owen a lot about this. I'm like,
don't worry, he rings me first thing in the morning. The fear is ringing me, and I'm like, yes. And it's like that partner that I don't have that tells me, do you know how drunk you were last night? I'm like, oh, for fuck's I'm feeling it this morning. I agree. I don't need it. Yeah. It's a very social, and it's similar to maybe, I don't know, if you did grow up in Poland or your experience in Poland and Ireland, it's a massive social thing.
Yeah.
I know that I'm not dependent on alcohol. I can go without it. I don't drink every day. But I'm going to be drinking today for an event that I'm really excited about, getting amongst friends, having beers and that feeling more than, and I know tomorrow's going to be a bit of a tough day, but we'll sucker up. But I do realise, and it's more my conscience part that I'm learning about, is going, you can go out and have 5 beers instead of going out and have in 10. But it's just, I get too excited in the moment, and it's just everything, and I go, and then I'm gone, and then I'm gone. So
Yeah.
And
Can you go to an event and not drink?
Yeah, I did it a couple of times. I can't social. I can't.
Oh, wait, we give a story. And this ties in with one of our last podcasts we did. But we were at this bar, we were handing the pool table over, and there were all these girls, and I said, hey, you guys can have the table. Anyway, we started having a chat, and then Owen's doing his 5 weeks of no drinking. So anyway, Owen walks out, and this guy's life of the party, and they're all like, "Oh, hey, who's your friend?" I'm like, "This is my best friend, and we're thinking about doing this podcast and stuff." And they're all like talking and stuff. And then they start having a bit of a bit of banter. They're all drunk, and they're all having a little bit of banter with this guy.
Flirting.
And anyway,
Which I was unsure of at the time, being sober. I was like, what
this
is this?
guy, I've never in my life, I've never seen this guy go like this.
Yeah, I did.
Because he was so awkward. He has some drunk girls talking to him, and him being drunk, if he was talking, he would be all over it. He would be like amongst it. But this time, I saw, and I was grinning
So
from
bad.
ear to ear because I was like, here's sober.
See how
Owen.
uncomfortable I was? I was so uncomfortable.
He was so
Wow.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He was so uncomfortable.
They were hitting on me like it was a piece of meat. Do you know what the other part is? And I don't know if you get this though, is this social status when you don't drink. Like the amount of people, these are even friends of mine who are like, "Come on, you'll have one." Or they just buy one and put it in front of you. And I think it must be either that their weakness is that they can't believe you're able to, like they're mentally challenging you or something. Because I'm like, and the instant reaction, people going, "Oh, wow, you don't drink. Why? Are you either A, on medication, or B, a raging alcoholic?"
Yeah.
You need to almost go one extreme to the other.
Yeah, and Dan had to start lying and saying that he's training for his boxing match. Because
sad.
then everyone's like, "Oh, fuck, good on you, bro."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I was the same
"But
with
if
running.
it's for your health, you're a pussy."
Oh,
Like,
that's right.
what?
Exactly.
I was
It's
the
so
same with
Drives
running.
me insane. It's so rude.
Yeah, I
We
did.
need to change that.
Yeah, we do.
We need to be like, "Wow, good on you," because alcohol is poison. It actually is.
There's not.
you know?
There's nothing good that comes from it.
No,
really.
no,
you know?
exactly.
Oh, well, there's my weekend. No meat, no booze. Oh, my Instagram stories are going to be going off the chain tonight. We're tagging you in them, Paulina. This is what it's like. Oh my days.
Do you not drink at all?
So I don't drink, but I will have like a glass of wine with Italian food or something like that, like a red, but I don't have more than one. I'm like, yum, that's delicious. That's me done.
I'm like, occasionally I drink now.
So you've got the.
So I can now.
You do? Sorry, you do occasionally.
I can occasionally drink now.
And control it.
I still, when I went through my breakup with Richard, to be fully transparent, I did grab a bottle of wine from like 2 weeks and just cry.
Yeah.
And then I just have this like switch in my head now, and then I'm like, okay, enough is enough, Paulina. Get your shit together. There's enough crying, feeling sorry for yourself. Get the fuck up, go to the gym,
Yeah.
But in that moment, I really do struggle still. Like when I'm really hurting, I'm just like, oh, but I'll never go back to the way I used to be. Like back then, it would be a bottle of wine and 10 tequila shots, and at my house, like, with my housemate or something, like, yeah. So it's really like I will wake up and not feel hungover the next day. I'll have like, a few wines and then go to sleep and then do it the next day. And I'm like, okay, that's enough. Like, yeah. So I'm still working on that. I did have a few tough moments recently, and I didn't drink. And I was like, yes, I got this, so.
That's the mental challenge, is how you can win that, as well as when God, I'd love one, but you just don't, and you just. Yeah. Those wins are like worth so much to you, I reckon, as well, It's the same, like even when I can go to an event and not drink or do the 5-week challenge, I know that I'm not like dependent on it. But then I love to have, like, today I'll have an event that I'll enjoy it, but I do know that it's those events I want to time it around, and not like, New Zealand's got a massive problem with people having a bottle of wine with dinner. 6 beers after a run.
Yeah.
Like,
after doing exercise, that's
like,
funny.
Are you doing the run to reward the beer, or are you which way are you going about it?
Yeah.
So fair play to you. Your Instagram page, you've got one for the plant-based following. Is that a side business as well, or is that just a plant-based?
No. That's just mainly just about sustainable living. That's grown from leet.
Oh, okay. That's tagged off that.
Yeah. So it's just a bit of inspiration.
You've also done a bit of acting.
I did. Yes, I did a full-time course at Howard Fine Acting School in Melbourne. Amazing teacher, amazing teachers. Howard Fine lives in LA, and he's a coach for amazing actors like Will Smith, Brad Pitt, like really, like, and just how he understands human behavior is just so incredible. Like, I just feel honored that I got accepted to that school because you have to audition.
That's cool.
And
Wouldn't you be at a disadvantage, obviously, with your looks as well? So challenging
It
for you,
wasn't about
Paulina, to
that.
get into that class.
It wasn't about that.
I know, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm sure you've got talent.
Maybe an acting role. No, but yeah, and that was my first year of being sober. So it was really like diving into the deep end. Like, not only am I sober, but I'm getting up and being completely vulnerable. Never done like proper acting school. All the other students who have been, you know, had acting in their background, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. And, you know, we had to sing, which was terrifying.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really putting yourself in the deep
That
end.
is.
Because for those who don't, like, I've only done a little bit of like acting for just a work thing recently, but you've really got to, being creative and doing that, you've got to be so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And because literally you're putting yourself up on a pedestal for someone to go, oh, you sound like shit, or oh, this or that. And you've got to be courageous enough to own that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like that is,
yeah.
so now you're sober and you're doing that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It like a really good acting school, I believe, is a life school. It is so amazing. We had to, you know, express things that happen in our life and use them in our acting to get into the character. It was really, I feel like the whole world needs to do a really good acting class, like a master class, because I feel like we would have more compassion for each other. Because I sat there once when this was Elizabeth Kent masterclass, and we all had to play out things that happened in our lives that really like changed our life and then become the character, which was very similar to my singing as well. We had to play the role we were born to play, and we had to show evidence of like what happened in our life happened to the character as well, and that and then we had to get undressed in front of a whole theater of people, dressed into the costume of the character, and then sing. And you know, you're crying for these people, and you're just thinking, wow, like everyone feels the same pain. We just all have different stories. That's all it is. And I wish that everyone could see that, because then we'd have just more compassion for each other instead of being so judgmental.
Exactly.
So judgmental, you know?
And the judgmental comes from insecurities that we have ourselves, and we're just trying to be like, oh, look at him. Don't look at me. Look at that person.
Yeah, I can't believe they did that, you know?
Yeah.
And I was completely vulnerable. Like I'd said all my, you know, addictions, everything. And that was scary. And then I had to sing and just all that. And yeah, it was really life-changing. Definitely the highest moment of my life. And to top it off, when I was a kid, I really wanted to be a Spice Girl. Who did?
Which one? Or your own one, or do you want to be one of the
I wanted
ones?
to be Baby, and then I wanted to be Sporty. Between those two, yeah. And my dad, and I said to my dad, I did a like a little show or something, and I'm like, I want to be a Spice Girl one day. Like, I'm going to be a singer one day. And my dad's like, this is like maybe 12 years old. He's like, you can't sing. You'll never be a singer. And I went home bawling my eyes out. My life was over, you know, at 12 years old. And I never sang again. Like, I was like terrified. I still don't sing. And so when I had to sing in school, I couldn't open my mouth at first. It was terrifying. I cried so much. And then I'd go home to my ex-girlfriend. I'm like, I can't do this. I'd cry. I couldn't sleep. I had to get sleeping tablets. Like, this is coming close to like my graduation where I had to sing, right? And then what happened? I went and got hypnotherapy. I got singing classes. I went to a psychologist. Like, I was determined. My teacher, my singing teacher, Mr. Curry, he said to me at one point, do you just want to graduate without the singing part? And I'm like, no, I have to do this. Like, I have to. Like, I'm just someone, I have to do something. Like, I will do it, you know? Yeah. And so I basically, at the very last minute, I invited my dad. I'm like, I have to do this. I have to invite my whole family, my best friends and my girlfriend. And my dad stood up in front of like 100 people at the end, because everyone could speak, you know, and say their piece. And he's like, I am Paulina's father, and the lights in the theater are so bright you can't really
You couldn't see.
Yeah.
And I heard my dad's voice, and I just bawled my eyes out.
Yeah, I'm getting tearing. Yeah, I'm like trying to hold these tears back.
And everyone, like, because all the students and the teachers knew my story, right? And Howard at the front, I could hear him. He's like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" The whole theater had tears in their eyes, and he's like, I'm Paulina's father. When she was young, I told her she couldn't sing, and I killed her, spontaneous life. And what you teachers are doing here is just life-changing. It's amazing. Thank you for doing this,
Wow.
It was like, I got goosebumps saying it. It was just so
Your
beautiful.
dad said that.
Yeah, and he didn't have to stand up, one.
No.
He was nervous. My mum said he was shaking. She thought he was going to have a heart attack. He stood up not only to, like, acknowledge me and what I had just done, but to admit that in front of 100 people. Like, I was like, wow. I had a girl come up to me at the end of the class, and she was like, "Your dad and you healed my relationship with my father." I was like, what? Like, I was so touched by that. And I still, to today, I still have messages from people like, "I'll never forget your performance. I'll never forget your dad standing up and saying that," It was like such a beautiful moment. And I remember going to his house afterwards, and, a couple of days later, and he got emotional. My dad's like a big, scary man, but he's such a softie. And I knew he's exactly like me. I was born on the same day as him.
Wow,
so we're very similar.
That's cool.
And
10th
he...
of February.
Thank you for remembering. Good memory.
Yeah.
And he got emotional, and he said, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "Don't," because he felt really guilty.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like, "Do not feel sorry," because I'm like, I just faced one of the biggest fears of my life. I proved to myself that if I can do this, I can do anything.
Yeah.
That was such an amazing lesson that you gave me. And there were amazing people, actors in that class who had amazing voices, and, but I had people come up to me saying, "Wow, like, you've just given me courage to do this course," because there were people coming to watch what they're going, because I watched the year before, and Lena's looked at me, she's like, "You're going to do that?" I'm like, "I'm going to do that. I'm going to get up and sing," And it wasn't about the singing, it was
about overcoming that.
It is.
That fear.
Yeah. So, and so I said, "Don't be sorry. That was the best gift you could have given me," and it's just life-changing.
I think you're right on the fact of, as you said, people need to do that to get out of their comfort zone and realize who they are. It's the same way, I believe, at 16, 17, by law, you should work in retail and hospitality before you're allowed an opinion, because where people just slag off all them.
Yeah.
And it's the same way in social media, the way the world is now. You look at someone's page, you might look at yours, and everything looks amazing, and you don't know what this person's went through to get to where they are today, you know what I mean? Like, and everyone, most posts on social media are always about positive stuff.
Yeah.
Where even I said to you the last time, like, how good and comforting is it to see someone actually post something to say,
Can I give you the word? What this whole thing is on social media? And my German flatmate, Patricia, she coined this. She said it's toxic positivity.
Yeah.
Which is positive. Oh, look, I'm only going to show the positive stuff. But she said, like, it's actually okay to feel sad and upset sometimes, and even share that, because we are human. We're not like this perfect image.
Yeah.
So and you're not going to be sharing it every day, because then it becomes negative.
Yes.
But it's like you're allowed to share, "Hey, I've had a down day today. It hasn't been the best.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get up and I'm going to carry on,
Yeah, I don't like that, because I have had people say, I wish I could find a girlfriend like you. And this is when I used to be with Lane. I was like, "No, you don't. You absolutely don't. I'm a head fuck." Now I think I'm a much better girlfriend and friend and daughter. But back then, like, people had this image of me and like, "Wow, you've got such a cool life. You're doing this, you're doing, you're traveling the world." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm also a raging alcoholic, and if you get me on the wrong side, I will fucking bite your head off,"
Terrified at the moment. She made a little bit of eye contact there with me.
Well, I felt a little bit of notice.
She was like, "Sit down." But do you reckon from what it sounds like, you're probably doing a lot better now at 35 than you were at 25?
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah.
Because I think I am personally.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. I can't say I don't think you ever like fully love yourself, but I love myself. I love who I am today. I love what I've gone through. And like even the worst thing that's happened to me, it's made me who I am. So actually all the shit things that have happened to me, I would never take them back. You know, I was driving the other day and I still get this. I've had this since I moved here. And this is like where I really changed my life. And I will look out at Rangitoto and I just get tears in my eyes of gratitude, just tears of gratitude that, wow, I'm alive. I'm so grateful to be here. I could have been dead so many times. And I think if I hadn't gone through all that, would I be grateful?
Exactly.
Would I be grateful for that piece of leaf, you know, or that bird singing? I wouldn't. I didn't look at nature the way I look at nature now. Like I'm so proud of who I am today that, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. When you say, was the lowest for you the boozing phase?
Yeah, definitely. I have so many low moments, but for some reason, this one time pops into my head where I was just lying on the ground and I had so much cocaine the night before and just was around a toxic person and I thought I was going to die. And there was a few moments like that. I thought, this is it. I honestly didn't think I was going to make it to 30. I honestly thought I was going to die. And I felt really guilty because I have really good parents and really good family. But I didn't know how to get out of it. You know, that's why I'm so grateful for my ex-girlfriend. And I just thought I'm going to die. I just lying there staring at this TV cabinet. And I don't know, for some reason that always pops into my head when I think of the lowest moment.
Yeah.
And that was like, and that was when I was like maybe 20.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. And I had so many moments like that, but that, I don't know, just really,
What was your highest high?
The acting, for sure. The singing.
Yeah.
My dad standing up in front of everyone.
I can imagine.
That night.
How old were you then?
26, 27.
Yeah, wow.
It was 2015, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good wrap. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's really nice
Thanks
to
for
have you on the
having
show.
me.
Yeah,
and
appreciate the honesty and
It's so cool hearing a story. Like I literally nearly cried. The whole dad singing scene, I nearly cried. Like that's
I'd like to kind of speak to the dad and get his opinion on how he thinks the event went.
because that's big. Like no,
Yeah.
but that's big. Like your dad, he could have after the show, he could have just said, "Hey, I'm so sorry I said that to you when you were 12 years old."
I know.
But you know what I mean? Like he owned it, and that's
Yeah.
fucking cool.
Yeah.
It's taking
Yeah.
accountability and being like, "Hey,
Yeah.
I take accountability here. Everyone
Yeah.
needs to know this, and look at this like awesome diamond that's formed." You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that. I
It's
love
very
that story.
special.
I
Very.
love that.
And
story.
I think it gives your story gives a lot of inspiration to people to hear how low it was where you were boozing. So there's I think a lot to take out of that because our aim really is for people as well who like everyone's got their own struggles.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their own story, but it's how you can support someone or hear of a story where someone's come out of it now. You know what I mean? They got their own business. They're going through a good plant-based life. How you can turn it around, you know?
I think like a challenge, you know, like we're going to be doing challenges for everyone at the end of the podcast, but like a challenge for everyone after this episode is like, can you go to a big function or event without drinking?
Yes.
And if you're below 18 and you're not drinking, like, can you just go and overcome a fear that you've got?
Oh,
You know,
love that. That's
can you?
great.
So like 2 challenges for different age groups, or if you don't drink, you know, there's 2 things for you to go away and try and do.
Yeah.
That one and the plant-based. I think you should see if you could go a week without eating meat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or even
And
like
challenge
just
yourself.
meatless Mondays or
Exactly.
Yeah.
something like
So,
that. That
yeah.
really does make
Yeah.
a difference in
'Cause
the environment. And
Eggplant is my latest one. I'm in love with eggplant in the barbecue at the moment.
Yeah, he does like it.
I do
He
like
does
eggplant.
like it. That's good.
And I wanted to say about social media, I really do like to, I don't always do this, but I like to post something that I'm struggling with sometimes because I agree with that whole toxic positivity. It's really,
So I called you out on it.
yeah.
Garrick was
We
sitting
need
here.
to be
And,
more authentic on social
Yeah.
media. That's another challenge.
yeah, because Garrick was here quickly. He had because he kite surfs, which I'm sure he definitely told you about. But no, he was struggling in terms of just being able to get like some consistency with his performance and get the height he wants.
Yeah.
And he was sitting here and he was literally just telling me how frustrated he is and he was like angry. and I think I was making a coffee, and I came back and I see that he posted a story of him kite surfing going best session ever. And I was like, well,
You
dude,
did not.
And I goes, dude, why don't you, if you,
Guilty.
I goes, why don't you share that you're actually struggling with the sport, but you're, you know, and I said,
Yeah.
people will actually, because I said, no offense, every time I see your kite surfing video, it's, I don't know when it is, it's the same stuff, but you'll actually have a new target audience where someone will go, they'll reach out to you and go, well, appreciate that, you know, keep going with it, dude, and good luck next week. And I think it's just a bit more real than just that.
The best session ever is literally the way that started is it's more of it's kind of aligned with gratitude. So a lot of people don't understand it, but like you can go to a kite spot so pumped up, the wind's going to be firing, you get there and there's no wind, it's raining, you've set all your kite up, your kite's wet, you pack your wet kite away and put it in your car, and I will still say best session ever because there's a link to that of gratitude where like, hey, I was still able to go to the beach. I was still able to go and walk around. You know, like it's kind of tied to that gratitude sense, which is like, man, like I don't want to ever say like, oh, that was the worst session. I was so shit.
No,
you know,
no.
But I know it's kind of a little bit of toxic positivity. I get it. But
I'm just saying.
okay, we're calling each other out here.
I'm just new to the Instagram scene, and I'm being able to tell you right now that that's where it happens.
Nice guys.
Oh,
love it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome.